We do have an agenda ahead of us here. I'm just going to review the agenda. We have our opening prayer by our Senator, Nolan Henderson. Call the meeting to order by myself. Welcoming remarks by our Chief, Joyce McLeod. Grand Chief, Brian Hardlotte. And then opening comments by Premier Scott. And followed by Rob Harvey. And then our Mayor from PA, Mayor Greg Dionne. 11 a.m. we're going to get into the Little Red River Bridge. Are we a little behind schedule already? We're almost right on time? Almost right on time. Oh, look at that. And then, so 11 a.m. we'll get into topics on the Little Red River Bridge by Councilor Elissa Halkett. And then 11:15 we're going to talk about our Highway 969 by our Chief, Joyce McLeod. 10:30 a.m. Timber Bay Children's Home Compensation. Grand Chief Hardlotte's going to speak a little on that. 11:45 Urban Partnership with Councilor Eldon, Councilor Jeff, Mayor Greg, and Victor Houle. And 12 p.m. we're going to talk about the Urban Reserve, a little bit of history by our Senator. And then Councilor Eldon and Chief are going to speak on that as well. 12:15, a new school, just a little update by myself. 12:30, blessing of the food, and then we'll have a fish fry. 1 p.m. we're going to have a presentation of some gifts. 1:15, a photo shoot with our photographer who's to my right, Conrad. Then we'll have closing comments by the Mayor, then Rob Harvey, then the Premier, then Grand Chief, and then the Chief, our Chief will close it all off, adjourn the meeting, and then our closing prayer by our Senator. So that's our agenda for today, so I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to call up our Senator to open us up with a prayer, please, Senator. If you can all rise.
Good morning. I can sit down, but I feel better when I stand up, so I can see everybody. First of all, I want to acknowledge the Creator for bringing us here today for a good cause, and I want to acknowledge all the guests, and starting with the Mayor. We work with the Mayor. We've been having meetings with the Mayor regarding the partnership, and I think this year and the year before that, I think it's very important for us to be making partnerships with people in government, and think about that because it's a year of reconciliation for First Nations. And I also want to welcome his first visit, the Honourable Scott Moe.
Not my first visit. First visit is Premier.
His first visit as a Premier, yeah.
I don't live too far away.
Okay, he doesn't live too far away, he just calls himself. And when I started talking to him, he just said, call me Scott. I said, okay, because I was calling him Sir all this time. So thank you for coming. Grand Chief, Brian Hardlotte. Tammy couldn't make it, so Tammy sent a rep here, Tom Roberts. And of course, I can't forget the RDG, Rob Harvey. He's been here many times, come and visit us. I want to thank the Vice Chief for sharing, the people that set up here, all this decorations, all the food, the people that are going to be out there cooking. They're going to have a fish fry, and all the cooks, all the fishermen, and all the council here, and our Cree here. I welcome all of you. I'm also known as Dionne? Jim? Dionne?
LeMaigre.
Jim LeMaigre, yeah, here. And also my former boss, Greg Side, all the way from Channel Way. And all of you guys that are here, I want to acknowledge all of you guys for being here. And thank you for the prayers, Roland. And thank you for all the ones that Carol, real fast change of our agenda. But this is going to be an exciting morning. This is the first time in our leadership here to be able to meet with the RDG, the federal and also the provincial government people. And all the gifts that are here, thank you from Charles Family Agency. We have blankets here specifically for the guests and people that are always working there. So with this thing would not be possible if it wasn't for the people that are always working in the background. You know, thank you. Thank you, Conrad, for the photography, and also we also have one here that's taking photography. I'm gonna say thank you on behalf of our nation. Hi.
Thank you, Chief. Just before we move on, I just want to introduce some of the leadership from Montreal Lake, my colleagues. I'm going to start on that side of the table there. We have Charmaine Ermine, who's our councillor from Little Red. Charmaine. And then sitting beside Charmaine, we have Elissa Halkett, who's another councillor from Little Red. Elissa. Beside Elissa is Carol Naytowhow, who's a councillor here for Montreal Lake. And the little fella here sitting in front of me is Troy Naytowhow. He's our councillor Montreal Lake. And we have a city council member from Prince Albert, Blake Edwards. Sorry, Blake Edwards. And we have one of our urban council, Eldon Henderson. And then our last but not least council from urban, Jeff Badger. And of course, Dean Henderson, the vice chief for Montreal Lake. So welcome. I'm going to continue on with our agenda now. Our next speaker will be Grand Chief Brian Hardlotte. Grand Chief.
Thank you, Vice Chief. You got to show off my t-shirt. Dit dat opschrijft nou, dat ik nog voorbij en acknowledge you all. I come to my relatives this morning. I mean, they stand up to the national number of time. Thank our Creator for assembling us here. Today, Montreal Lake. Thank you, Senator Nolan, for the opening prayer. I acknowledge you all from the community, Chiefs, your council members, and your staff, and the community members, and the elders. Front table here, I acknowledge you all, and I welcome you all. And that's not really welcome and comment. So Premier, I welcome to the Treaty 6, signed in 1876, adhesion, 1889, territory. Mayor, welcome to the Treaty 6 territory. And also Rob, I have welcome to the territory. I welcome for our meeting, and I pray to the Creator that we will have a good meeting, and that that's something that we talk about will move forward. The national meeting.
Thank you, Grand Chief. I just, before I get into the next speaker here, I just wanted to mention this facility that we're in right now. This is our youth center. It was an idea by the little fella here, Troy, with some of our own source revenue. One of our settlements that we signed off on, it was our Ammo and Twine settlement, where we allotted, money aside just for youth. And this is what This was the results of this facility. It's named after a former chief, a former leader here in our community, and actually a former RDG, the late Roy Bird. This facility is named after him. So I just wanted to mention that. You know, and everything. We don't even host meetings in this facility because it's just for our youth. You know, it's not for anything else, specifically for youth. I just wanted to mention that. So anyways, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna pass the microphone over to our Premier. Welcome, Premier, and welcome to our country, and welcome to Montreal Lake Cree Nation. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Dean, and thank you everyone for putting today together. I just start my colleague Jim LeMaigre, who's been working very hard just to the east of here and or west, pardon me, and north of here over the course of the past number of years on behalf of, I would say, not the government, but on behalf of the communities that he represents. We have Greg Seib here, who will be, obviously it's election season in Saskatchewan, who'll be running on the east side and in the Cumberland riding. So just to acknowledge both of them that have joined me here today. But say thank you to Chief McLeod for reaching out and just saying, you know, is there some time for us to come together? I don't live that far from here. We're neighbors, and you know, long after I'm done this job, and Chief, maybe you'll be done your job at that point in time, we're still going to be neighbors. And I think that's important for us to acknowledge, and when we have the opportunity, like we do today, to you know, really move forward on a constructive dialogue, to look for opportunities where we can make one another's communities stronger, while we have the honor of serving in the respective positions that we have. Chief Hardlotte, I want to say, it's so great to see you again, but I want to say thank you as well, as I know, you know, in Prince Albert, again, I just live out at Shelburne, about half an hour out of Prince Albert, about an hour and a half from here. You have great fishing here, by the way. But Chief Hardlotte, for some of the guidance that you have provided me over the years, you just stop in at the office, you know, slide you a text, and you know, sit down and you know, hash out whatever you know, and discuss whatever the issue might be of the week, the month, or that particular year, and you always provide me with the courtesy of a heads up in the direction of PAGC, and I want to thank you for your leadership on behalf of the people from all of the various PAGC communities, and thank you for your guidance and the conversations that I have the honor of having with you as well. Somewhat associated with PAGC communities is a community that is common to all of us, and that's the city of Prince Albert. And so, Mayor Dionne, it's always good to see you come out of the city to meet with the surrounding communities, because, and Blake, thank you for coming as well. PA is really a center hub for myself in Shelburne, and I would say that it's very much a center hub for many of the people that are from Montreal Lake that may live in Prince Albert, or are living in Montreal Lake and going to Prince Albert and Little Red as well. You know, that's why, as I have the honor to serve in this position and be from this region, you know, we very much have an understanding of the importance of Prince Albert as being that regional hub for us. That's why you're seeing, in the case of the discussion we had around the expansion of the Prince Albert Victoria Hospital, which is the hospital that I go to. And when my son broke his arm and his ankle, that's the hospital that he goes to. That's the hospital where my daughter was born, and it's in the city where my daughter lives today. That's why when we had a very serious discussion about not only the services that are available in that hospital today, but the opportunity and the need to expand those services with a significant expansion. And you're going to see a similar sized tower start construction there very shortly, with revamped and expanded emergency rooms, a larger number of beds. And in fact, the building is one thing, but you're going to see the addition of approximately 500 staff into that facility. And I think that speaks to the expansion of services that are happening at that Prince Albert Victoria Hospital, which is a regional healthcare center for not only myself in Shelburne, but for all of the people that live throughout northern Saskatchewan as well. And so I want to thank the PA City Council for the work that we were collaboratively doing and understanding, you know, what the needs were and how we were able to move forward with that project, and then really bring other projects into the fold, like the recreation center as well. But there's one thing about that hospital that I think is important and important for us to all acknowledge, is normally those hospitals are an 80-20 split. 80% the province pays, 20% comes from the regional community. We have a health center in Shelburne where I live. I was, prior to politics, actually the fundraiser for that facility. We had to raise $6 or $7 million from the community to come up with our 20%. That's not the case in Prince Albert. That is a regional hospital, not just for the community of Prince Albert, but a regional hospital for all the surrounding area in the entire north. And so the province is investing and the full 100% of the capital footprint. That's not to say there isn't some fundraising that will be happening for the furnishings, and they're substantial in a facility of that size. But I want to thank Mayor and through you, Council, for the conversations in the lead up to the announcement of that facility, and now ultimately the construction. And really, that brings me to the very core of what the provincial government's role is to provide those very basic services to all Saskatchewan residents. And as we grow our opportunities in the economy, is to ensure that we're working with all Saskatchewan residents to ensure that we all have an equal opportunity to participate in the economy and provide ourselves with our own financial independence, which is ultimately economic reconciliation and work. And so thank you to those members. Tom Roberts, just met you here today. Thank you for coming down and representing your communities in the Lac La Ronge area. And Rob Harvey, your reputation precedes you. I don't think we've met that I recall, but I want to thank you as well for your engagement in all of the northern communities. It wasn't that long ago we had embarked on you mentioned 1876, the signing of Treaty 6. I received a very valuable gift from Chief Ahenakew at Takakook First Nation just a few weeks ago when we announced the construction and modeling of an urgent care center in Saskatoon. Saskatoon also a hub for many communities, myself included to some degree, but a hub for Takakook, and they also come in to Prince Albert as well, and we were talking about that hospital investment in Prince Albert. But we're partnering in a very unique, first of its kind investment in Saskatoon where Takakook Cree Nation is building the urgent care center. And we've talked about this potential in Prince Albert as well, Chief. And then the SHA is going to operate an urgent care center as well as a mental health and addictions intake in that facility. And then through partnerships with the First Nation, there may be other services, specifically Indigenous services, through ISC and other opportunities that are there to service the urban community in that community as well. And I think you'll see one of these, I mention this because you'll see the one up and operating in Regina First, which is exclusively owned by the Saskatchewan Health Authority. Step a little bit different in Saskatoon with a partnership on the property with the Takakook Cree Nation. And if these are able to work not only in the way of alleviating some of the pressures in our emergency rooms, which we need, but also creating an access point for our community members and our family members that all too often may be having a mental health crisis, an access point to get in front of the mental health professional that they need, or unfortunately have slipped into a life of addictions, also an access point for our community and family members that may find themselves in that situation. And if these work as well as they're anticipated to, and the first one to be operating actually later this summer will be the one in Regina, then the one in Saskatoon, then I think it will be time for us to look at expanding them into other communities, and I think paramount among those is our regional hub right in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And so we'll feel our way through that. But again, and just in closing, I want to thank you, Chief McLeod, for reaching out, offering the invitation for us to visit your community, I suppose officially on behalf of the government of Saskatchewan, but I'd say even more importantly for myself, as I live not too far from here, to work on areas where we can collaborate and really make not only our communities but our entire region a better place for the people that we represent collectively. So thank you.
Thank you, Premier. Next, our next speaker is Rob Harvey, the RDG. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chief. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank the Senator for the opening prayer. Thanks for the invitation to be here at Treaty 6. Looking forward to the conversation today. Not all that comfortable behind the mic, so I'm going to be very brief. I want to thank leadership for inviting me. I want to thank Chief Joyce for calling me last night, giving me a heads up on the road. Although I did try and manage a coffee while I was driving, which was not a wise idea, but I want to acknowledge the mayor, the premier, all the guests here today, and really looking forward to the discussion and a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. Next we have our Mayor of Prince Albert, Greg Dionne.
Well, thank you. Elders, special guests. First, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 land, and I'm very pleased to be here. One of the things we do move in our city, we have 4 pillars that we work on, and that's health, education, recreation, and service. And you are our neighbors, so you're an economic driving force for us, and we really look forward to more partnerships in the future. I'm going to wait till we get to the partnership to talk about the new one that we're having, but I also have to acknowledge that 46% of our community now in the city of Prince Albert, which is 38,000, is First Nations or Métis. So that's why it's important that we get together. Now, part of the reason for the growth, and I might as well start off the political conversation with my colleague at the end, is I'm sad for one reason for the growth. Some of the growth with urbans is strictly because we don't have enough housing on reserves. And so they're forced to go to the urban. And that is hard because they're looking for services that are supplied here, and they have their relatives here, their families, they have generations of families here. And they want to grow up here and they want their kids to learn. Because this is where you're going to learn your culture and your language in your home community. So we're going to continue to work on that and let them know, the federal government, that they got to step up the pace. That housing is just not an issue in Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary. It's also an issue in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. So we'll keep on to it. But that's where we want to see our growth. And just so you know, we're very pleased to announce that we now have in our city 65 acres of urban reserve. Now that does not count Little Red Reserve and up, because Wapayton owns quite a portion of that part of the city. But right in our city core, we have 65 acres now, and they're all commercial businesses. So that's what we're excited about, because that's how we're going to get economic growth, and that's how you're going to work on self-government, is by getting economic growth. And just so you know, Blake Edwards is a strong supporter of us and believes that's how we have to move forward. So I'm going to leave the mic because, of course, it's election year, you know, and the city of PA hasn't done anything wrong yet. You know, the other level of government, well, you know, he drove on the road, and just to give you an example, I picked up some milk at the gas station, and when I got here, I had a milkshake. So there is advantage to that road. So I'm going to let it go. I am excited to talk about the partnership because moving forward, that's how we're going to work. But I want to thank Chief Joyce for inviting us, because anytime you invite me, I'm going to warn you, I'm going to come, especially when you say you have a fish fry. But I really wanted to come today because I really wanted to go across the lake to the boat, to that beautiful other area that you have, because that's a great area to hear, and one day I'll come back and I'll do that. And I did told the chief I'm going to come back now with my councilor and spend half a day here, because you have a new health center, you have so many facilities, and that's what it's about. It's not about supplying those services in PA, it's about supplying them here. And I'll give you an example, is the University of Saskatchewan. We have a college there now because they finally listened to us, and the reason you weren't successful in Saskatoon, you come, and I'll give an example. They had a student come from Hatchet Lake. You know, 1,800 people there, 750 of them are kids. She went to University of Saskatchewan. Well, this year they have 27,000 students. And she had no support. So right away they get homesick. Where in Prince Albert, they have lots of support. We're very pleased with the support that we have. We're very pleased with how we work very well together with the Grand Council. We sit on quite a few committees with the Grand Council, and our goal is to move everybody forward. Just not one nation, everybody forward. So I'll stop talking because I get the mic again to talk about partnerships, and I'll talk about that. But in closing, I just want you to remember things. I got to thank our Premier. What people don't understand, big projects, that hospital took 10 years to negotiate. Our 2 rinks and our aquatic center that's under construction, that was a 10-year project. Because you have to get federal money, provincial money, and city money. So it's a hard thing. And I want to thank the Premier because he was there as an MLA. He didn't miss a meeting about the hospital. And I gotta thank the Grand Council. Because of the Grand Council, they helped us get in the funding because they helped us prove that it was a northern hospital. It wasn't the City of PA's hospital. It was all our hospital because of from the north. So I want to thank both those two gentlemen because that's how we got the hospital. And it was 10 years, but it was worth it because it's under construction now and our kids will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to mention we had to adjust our agenda. Our original plan was that we were going to take the Premier and everybody else up the lake to the Treaty 6 signing site. And beside the Treaty 6 signing site is the late Harold Johnson's camp that we purchased. So it's actually Montreal Lake Cree Nation that owns the camp. It's a beautiful site. We use it as our land-based education learning center. And so we take kids up there. Like during the summer, it's booked throughout this whole summer for youth, for women, for men's. We're going to be using it on a regular basis. Unfortunately, our timeline, for today's event, it wouldn't have been possible to go up there, have a fish fry, and do all that fun stuff. We know you're on a tight time frame, and it just wasn't possible. Unfortunately, but at some point, maybe if you can come back and you have a whole day, we can go up there. We do have our cultural days, which is a big event for our people, and we get a lot of guests that come up there, and that's August 4th to August 9th. We call it Montreal Lake Malinosa Days. And it's a big event. Our opening ceremonies will be on the 5th, the Monday the 5th. So I want to invite you to that ceremony. That'll give you time to come out, visit the historic site, I guess you can call it. So everybody's invited. I just want to mention that we do have some former chiefs in the house from Montreal Lake Cree Nation. First off, I see gone. Lionel Bird. Where did Lionel go?
Just went outside the door.
Lionel is a former chief. He was a chief here in Montreal Lake. I just want to acknowledge him. Lionel, where did he go? Huh? Oh, he's cooking fish. That's Lionel Bird, is the former chief. Lionel. We have another former chief. Our Senator Nolan is a former chief as well. And we have Frank Roberts, a former chief. And who am I missing? That's it. Is that our former chief? Roger Bird, he's not here anymore. Some of our elders, we have a former councilor back there, Naytowhow. Yeah, I think that's all I see in the house. So with that, we'll take, Jason, sorry. Jason Valentine, the former leader. Oh, Delia, standing in the back. Sorry. Okay, getting on to our agenda. We are almost pretty much on time. Oh, we're 3 minutes behind schedule. 11 a.m. we have the Little Red River Bridge, and we have Councilor Elissa Halkett gonna speak a little bit on that. Elissa? You can sit, you can stand, you can lay down.
Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. My name is Elissa Halkett. I'm from Little Red 106B, Montreal Lake Sector, just by Christopher Lake. I'd like to thank for the Eldon for the opening prayer, for all the dignitaries that are here, my co-councilors, everyone at the table, and everyone that was invited. Thank you all for showing up. So I guess we'll get right into business. Our community of Little Red has had I have one package here that I'm going to give you to. to take home so you can go over, but I'll just give you a little bit of highlights of what we've been going through for the community of Little Red. So we have a population of over 500 people in our community. We have over 300 students that go to school at our school. We have over 50 to 70 plus staff that travel in to come to our school and to work for any of our businesses in our community. So one of the things that we're struggling right now with is our bridge, the bridge that's on our community.
Is that the one to the north of the school?
Yes, it's probably about 1.5 kilometers from Highway 263. So in prior years to me coming into council, this is my 4th year in council, my 2nd term. So prior years, I had the privilege of talking to our former councilors and chiefs regarding the bridge and where they got funded from. As of right now, ISD has given us some dollars to replace our bridge. So the money is there, but due to the fact that they don't know who owns that bridge, they won't release the funds to the community to start the project. So Troy Naytowhow, my co-councilor, has been sitting at our project management team with us, who we work with both consultants and Sask, the engineering company that we work with. And so we've been going back and forth from every department. Like I have emails, text messages, and phone calls from different departments in regards to our bridge, the arm of Patterson, the arm of Shelbrook, the arm of Buckland, Ministry of Bridges, and Ministry of Highways, and then finally the chief just said he'll send out an email to the Government of Relations and see where we go from there. And then so we did. And then I got an email from Ministry of Government of Relations May 14th. May 14th. Yeah, but I got June 12th, sorry. I sent it out May 14th. I have it right here. I'll give it to you right away.
I think I have a copy of it here.
You might have a copy? Okay, and then, so I have that. So therefore, I did go to the province. I did ask them for a letter stating that, that they do own the bridge. So that's where we're stuck. And this letter verifies that the province does own this bridge. So if we don't move forward on our bridge, and as of right now, the water flow through our community is kind of scary. And like we haven't even been able to repair our road due to the high water level and the defrosting from the spring because of all the rain that's been happening in the last 2 months. So in this package I have for you, it has pictures of the deterioration of the bridge.
I've been across.
Yeah, and yes, we have a lot of people that come from this Shelbrook area that go right to the lake, right, because they're right by the national park. So we have a lot of people that travel on our road. But I'm afraid this year the waters might take out our bridge. There's just way too, there's old pictures on this one. I have the newer photos that I can send to your office when, if I can just get some information that I can email.
Okay, so what do we need to, the province owns the bridge?
Yes.
And we need to change that? Is that the request?
Yeah, so what we're requesting is if we can get a letter stating that it can be given to the community of Little Red and be owned by the band.
And is it a provincial road coming into the
Yes.
bridge on the other side?
It
You,
is.
you want the road too?
We already maintain it, so.
I know that.
Yeah, so.
No, there is some questions at times, and this isn't the only unique instance where there's these partnerships between the host community, the neighboring RM, and the province. And there's confusion over who maintains it, who pays for the maintenance, who owns it, and so yeah, no,
Yeah, so that was the other things that we brought up too, is we've been maintaining this bridge. Like in the email that I have gotten last month, so 1986 was when they first received dollars to repair the first incident that happened on that road. 1986. And then the second one was 1996, is when they got more dollars to repair the bridge. But that's just repairing, that's mending it until.
when was the bridge built?
1956.
1956 is when it was built.
Mayor PA is getting nervous with all this bridge stuff.
So it's a really, like I was telling my co-councilors today, it's a lengthy conversation. You know, we took it to our lands committee and it was a 3 to 4 hour discussion, and those are just discussions. And we're still running into brick walls with no answers, not getting anywhere regarding our bridge. And I think we're on our last straw with our bridges here due to the high levels of water. Yeah.
Ashley, do you have a card? Will you give it to Elissa?
So I can give her this back to tell us what it's okay. But thank you for hearing me.
Ashley will give you a card with her email and phone number.
Okay.
And we'll have a chat, starting with Minister McMorris, and I'll get a lot of movement.
Okay, sorry. I just want to apologize, it's 150 pages.
Thank you very much, Elissa. I just want to say that that's the tamest I've ever seen Elissa. Elissa's usually a lot more aggressive in our council meetings, so you're lucky you got off easy. And I'll give her a round of applause. Moving on our agenda, I want to speak. I want to get the chief to speak a little bit about Highway 969, which is our road from the highway coming into the community. Chief, if you will.
Okay, you probably came through 969, which is actually about 8 kilometers from the main road. And I think I need help from Nolan, from Senator Nolan, in terms of the history. But you know what? This is the only road we use. And as a matter of fact, one of the band members was here earlier this morning saying, can we do something about the road? I said, we are. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much gravel we put on that road. It's still very ugly. Every time it rains, it's that's what it looks like after it rains, but it makes it also it's also very difficult for the emergency vehicles, the ambulance, and also the RCMP. And we're also at the point right now, you know, building a new women's shelter and also the RCMP detachment. We're in the talks right now where we have a plan for that. But so that means the RCMP detachment from Moscow is going to be closed, and the new detachment being built here, and therefore, you know, we're having problems with the road. It has to be better than what it is right now. I think I need Nolan to tell you guys the history.
Thank you, Chief. Anyway, just brief, as brief as possible. When the road was being contemplated into a new road or an upgraded road was being contemplated into Montreal Lake, the original road of the old number 2 highway, it would intersect with the current number 2 highway at Timber Cove, and that's 14 kilometers from this point. And so it was there was issues that the Department of Highways was faced with. First of all, I mean, all the servicing intertwined back and forth on that old road, and and this was natural gas, the telephone line, and also the power line, and so it just intertwined, and so it was going to be very costly then, and so another option came about, and that was to build this new road from this community to number 2 highway, and it was shorter. It's only 8 kilometers, and this old road is 14, so it shortened the road by 6 kilometers, and then also avoiding all the other servicing issues that were pointed at us, and so it was really quick for us to determine that this new road was the one to have, and at the time the Department of Highways built it to 2 highway standards in the grade and in the width and the height. So at that point, historically, there was some commitments to pave the road in the reserve by federal government. And, but over time, that faded away on us. And so today we are experiencing the road that we have experienced. This is probably the worst year of them all, because what seemed to have happened, and you know, people call this winter boils. You know, when the road comes up and just really makes a mess of, and you know, you'll see images of vehicles being stuck in the middle of the road. And that's how bad it was 2 weeks ago. And so the need for this road to be surfaced, I think it's at its greatest. We can back it up with the stats of how long it takes to service, for the various servicing to take place, with police servicing, the health servicing to this community. And so we just want to highlight, I think at this point, in terms of the road history, and that I think that it's made it a lot more suitable. It's shortened the distance, but there are other things too. It's the contact to with the travel from people coming into Montreal Lake. We have one big event that takes place here. As you know, the Fish Derby every March brings in a lot of people, a lot into the economy, all the way into Prince Albert and every place else. So this is very much of a huge connect for Montreal Lake outward. And I think it really contributes to the overall economy to this part of the world. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for listening to this part, and thank you.
Thank you, Nolan. I'm just going to get Troy to supplement a little bit on that. Troy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I want to say thank you to Nolan for opening prayer. Welcome to our special guest, Mayor Scott, Mayor Greg, Vice Chief Brian, and our special guest there, Timmy, I believe, or I'm not good at names. Tom. I'm sorry, I was close. And the RDG. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad, and to our special guest here, our councilor beside me from Prince Albert, and everyone that came out today. Yeah, it's I look after the Public Works Department here in Montreal Lake, so when the roads are bad, I get the call. So it's always my fault, but I always explain there's winter boil and the frost is coming up, right? It's every year we deal with this. The road you came on today, that's not bad. That's a good 5-10 minutes. It used to take maybe half an hour, 40 minutes at one time. So we were looking at paving the road last year. We did get a quote. We will have to relook at a quote. We do have 4 gravel pits near Timber Cove here. I'm not sure if you know where that is, maybe about where the old 969 road. So we were looking at gravel pits there. The provincial has some. At the same time, we are working with highways with their 2 old gravel pits that they want to sign over to us so we can buy a crusher and continue to build our roads on the reserve as well. A paving would be a good idea from Highway 2 to our beach here. It's a really good idea. Not only do our members use it, it's our local semi-trucks that come and use it, our RCMP, our health services. I believe a week ago, one of the ambulances come rushing in, rushed out, and overheated. So it's not only the vehicle part, it might be life-threatening at one time. We don't know. If the cops need to come rushing in or rushing out, it's a big thing. So I think paving the road is a really good idea, and we're here to work with you. And if you want to help us out, we can work on an agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, I'd like to get into the conversation. I'm glad you're here at Public Works. What you should also do is meet with the province. Who does the maintenance of the road is the contractor out of Canada Lake. And I would suggest that you take over the maintenance. The province does pay the contractor to take care of the road, so then you can deal with it directly. Because of course, I can assure you, I also have a place at Candle Lake, and they do Candle Lake before they come here. You know, even though should be the priority, because our roads at Candle Lake are pretty good. So I just would like to suggest to you that you look into that with the province, get a hold of the Department of Highways, ask them when that contract's coming up, and it's possible for you to just take over the roadway in Montreal Lake and let the contractor have the rest. Because then you can deal with it directly, and it'll help you in the future.
Thank you, Mayor. Just
I have a question on that. Is it full 8K the provinces?
yeah, it is.
And then just on Greg there, we did look at it. You need 2 graders to have that contract. The grader, the new contract come up, I think it was 6 months ago. We were already looking at it.
Okay.
So, but you need 2 graders, and we only have 1. It's just
They have to be a certain amount of blade, and
Yeah.
we don't have that many
Yeah.
for the blade.
we don't fit it, but we want to. And then every time we call them, we call the contractor, say we need the road coming, we need the road done. Sometimes they come right away, sometimes it just takes a while, but we hear the complaints, and that's where we call. All we can do is keep calling, but we did try to look into the contract before. Yeah,
How long was the contract signed for?
I believe it's 2 years. Yeah, and they just started 6 months ago. It's a new company now. So last ones were good. This one is kind of here and there, so.
Just to add to the comments here, our quote we got was about a year ago. Right? Yeah, about a year ago we got a quote, and that was to pave 12 kilometers from the highway to the boundary of our reserve. That's 12 kilometers. And our quote was $8 million. So you have a rough number. It's probably gone up in the past year with everything else going up, but just so you know. So anyways, just, to move on, I want to thank you for, listening to that, and we'll move on our agenda. We have Timber Bay Children's Home Compensation, and we'll have the Grand Chief speak on that. Grand Chief?
Thank you very much, again, Vice Chief. I think with the road, I think we kind of heard the Premier that there will be a follow-up on the road. Coming down the road, most northern roads, you're like a bobblehead out there, right on those roads. Hey, how's your neck? No, but those were, there's an election coming up looming, and we have a new candidate for the Sask party. And those are the very issues that we can get this done sooner than the election that's coming in the fall. If we do the meetings with the follow-ups, they're premium. I didn't get into much of the deep, just the welcoming comments of Premier, but you mentioned some of the partnerships that we have with the Prince Albert Grand Council, and the main one, folks, is the Victoria Hospital. That's a big thing. And we fought well, not really fight, but work with the province, but also with the federal government. Because of the federal responsibility in healthcare that we still have. But we're not giving up on that. The Premier talks about the fittings that still have to happen, fundraising. We're all if you can mention me and you, our job will be, to mention this meeting to the Minister of Indigenous Services Canada. That we still want federal funding for that hospital. I just wanted to mention that. But the other partnership is very important, people, is the homelessness that we have in the city of Prince Albert. And we have a partnership with the Alana Ross, with Sask Park, along with the city, of course, in making and working on a permanent shelter for the city of Prince Albert. So that's another very important thing. Policing and in the area of justice is very important. And that's a partnership. Community tripartite agreements, CTAs, policing. That's a partnership that we have. social services, the thing about the C-92, bring our children home. We have to work on that in the future. But for Prince Albert Grand Council is keeping those children. We have about 50 children that we take care of, small kids in the cottages that we have there. That is part of the very important. The emergency management is another big one, right? As our public safety agency that we have. And very important, the task force that we have, I'd like to mention that, the task force that we have in forest fires. We want to put those fires out. And again, that's another electrification, to prevent the evacuation that we have in our community. That's an important partnership that we have with the problem. It's a task force, helping them out how they can suppress the fires, to prevent the evacuation. So I just wanted to mention that today. I didn't mention that in my opening comments. But I'm here to talk about the Timber Bay Children's Home. A premier, I'm sure your officials have briefed you on this issue. You're well aware of the issue, or Rob is aware of the issue. But Tom Roberts here is well aware of the issue. And you all, the survivors that are still here, you're aware. So of course, the history of the children's home operated by a church group, right? I won't get into the details here, but also with the province. Evidence there that it was operated by the province. Evidence there that it was operated also by the federal government. So there's responsibility there, okay? And what's the issue? It was not on the list of the residential schools that were on the list considered residential school for that compensation for survivors. It was not, and that's wrong. And that children were treated, the way they were treated in the other residential schools that were recognized. They were treated the same way here. So it was wrong, not being recognized. So because of this, like the Ron Indian band went into court, out of their own source, they funded them. Over 300,000. That was the man count that only did that. And we had a firm called Lawyers Without Borders that led this. And of course, the other two Woodland Cree Nations were part of it. And that's Montreal Lake Cree Nation and also Clear Valley Cree Nation, because it was mostly the children from those three nations that were in this residential school. Just a little ways down the road here, Timber Bay, a premier and also Rob. So that's a lot of money. We were hoping that at the end it would be hit the Supreme Court, but he didn't make it. The Supreme Court didn't want to hear it. So that's where it's at. And what we've been doing with the three chiefs in the last few years is we've met with the Minister of Indigenous Relations, a minister, and I thought those were good meetings, but at the end, nothing really happened from those meetings. So I think Rob and also the Premier, our job here will be for me and Rob to inform again Minister Hadji, Indigenous Services Canada Minister, but under this is the Crown Indigenous Relations, and that's Minister Gary. That'll be our job for that follow-up. But Minister, we ask you for that follow-up also with your ministers. I guess that would be under a First Nations Relations Minister. We have to have that meeting. And the challenge is that we haven't been able to meet with the province, Canada, and the First Nations. So we have to make that happen from this meeting. Very important that we move forward. And and there's reasons, everybody has reasons why this is not being recognized, right? We know the survivors know what those reasons are. There's apparently another residential school, might be some class action from individuals, from a law firm, you know, but those are, we can resolve this. We can resolve this, I think, if we do sit down. So I think that's the right thing to do. Let's get this residential school recognized. That's our goal from this meeting, I'll say, Premier. And when we talk to the ministers, they're all, that's our goal, to get this recognized and get that compensation for those survivors, the few that are still with us. Many have passed on. And the new candidate for the Cumberland constituency here, Greg, you know, a lot of his relatives, uncles, they were in that residential school. They need to be compensated. Let's resolve this. Let's resolve this and get it recognized. There have been 2 residential schools that were not on the list, original list, but later on that were added on the list. So we can do it. It can be done. So let's do that, Premier, and let's do the right thing. I'd say, if I can, I just want to give a little opportunity to a survivor, Tom Roberts, that's representing like the Ron Indian Bad Chief, Tammy Cook, seriously. If I can, there, MC.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here. And I had a call late last night, and the chief says, "Can you go represent me in Montreal Lake?" I didn't answer back until this morning. And she says, "You got to go down there." I won't be there. I got to go to Pine House. But I was happy to be there, and I will help my band any way I can. But my main focus here today, and the chief, Tammy Cook, shares, and I told me a message to the Premier Scott Moe. Can we have a commitment, a yes or no? Are you going to do something about the students? I call them the lost kids of Timber Bay. They deserve compensation, apology. Can you, as the Premier, do something? And don't worry about it's an election year. That doesn't work for me. Do it with your heart. Yeah. And when I came in here, the second time I've been in this building, former Chief Roy Bird, I called him my brother, and I got brothers here. Nolan, we went to school together at Prince Albert. Why we call each other brothers, we couldn't even talk to our brothers or sisters when we went there, so they became our brothers to this day, and I'll never stop. And Roy Bird and I shared a cottage for about 3 years in Prince Albert, and I never forget that as well. So we're very close. And I've been working for 10 years now, over 10 years as a residential school support worker for the North Band, and traveled across the country. And the kids from Timber Bay deserve something. Something, apology, a commitment saying, no, we can't help you, I'm sorry. And a lot of them are gone now. There's only a few guys left here. I was here a couple of years ago when a young boy from Saskatoon snowshoed from Saskatoon in the dead of winter, cold, to raise awareness of residential schools. And 2 of them here, we got 20 in Saskatchewan, 22 with Isle Cross and Timber Bay. And I remember years back, a guy by the name of Stephen Harper, he was in Vancouver, speaking, quoted, saying, I will help and I will compensate Timber Bay and Isle Cross and put them in the residential school program. A month later he says, oh, we're going to have a look at it. Let's stop, like the chief said. Let's do something, let's get this done. Either way, make a commitment of some sort, Premier. And we care, we understand that this political stuff, the treatment that they got, we got, right across the country. It wasn't different. We got an education, but at the cost of losing our culture, our heritage, and our language, our traditional way of life. That's the one that hurts. We got an education. But my gosh, I speak now about places, and I'll go, my name is Tom Roberts, and I'm going to say something, that I was forbidden to say when I was going to school. I went to school so lot, and I started talking Cree. Because if we spoke Cree at school, the residential school, it wasn't, don't do that. Don't do that. It was hard punishment. These kids went through the same thing. These kids were bribed. I've talked to some of them in Orange, living in Wapaweka. Plane comes in. Oh, your uncle wants to see you guys. All you kids, come on, get on the plane. Get on the plane. They gave them oranges and apples and juice. Got on the plane, got off in Orange. Next thing, they're here at Timber Bay, not knowing. So they were bribed and taken out of there forcefully from their community. So, Mr. Premier, if you could, I ask you, in good faith, what can you do? If you can't do something, if you can't compensate these people, if you can't apologize for what they went through in your territory, give us a commitment of some sort.
Thank you, Rob. MC, if I can give the opportunity for the Premier and also...
Eldon wants a supplement before. Just have Eldon has a supplement here. Eldon, Councilor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I want to thank all the dignitaries for being here today. Very important to our nation and to our former leadership and to our band members that are sitting here today. And this is Timber Bay is a critical piece here for our history, and you know, it's not the greatest legacy that our band members experienced. And from 1950 to 1995, I was one of them as well too. I just wanted to let the Premier know we do have a Timber Bay working group made up of politicians and survivors, and I've been asked to coordinate the next meeting, and so I'm the chair for the Timber Bay working group. So that, you know, we want to be able to sit down with the province so we can coordinate our efforts together. Like Tom was saying there, you know, he's got a very strong message from the chief. And you know, that's the same messaging that you're going to get from us too as a nation, and as from survivors too, as a survivor of that institution. We have a special thing going too. I mean, we're working on a monument to honor our past and present survivors. So right now it's being built and finished in Regina at Remco. So we can talk to you about that as well too. But the important piece here today, the messaging here today, Premier, is the Timber Bay survivors getting compensation. And we've lost some. My older brother, Peter Ross, he was one of the youngest there. And you know, there's, you know, my late mom told me a story back in the day where, you know, where she had no choice to leave him there. And, you know, after I heard that, it really broke my heart. And so there's a lot of stories like that, you know, I'll tell you that. And so, you know, with ISK, you know, our representative, Rob Harvey, you know, our RDG, you know, you're familiar with our story with Timber Bay. And it's a strong message coming from Orange Band. They had a lot of survivors in that institution. We've lost some from all the bands and communities in that institution. So, you know, if you could take this back to cabinet, you know, and you know, we try to coordinate some meetings here with our working group. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dean and Eldon, Grant Chief, and thank you, Tom, for your words as well. And I would say this conversation is less about politics. There are some legalities involved in the details of why these two particular schools were not settled with the others. Those legalities should not prevent us in a tripartite way of some type with the federal government and the community to continue to have those conversations about, you know, what our history is in this region, in this province, and in this nation. I have had many conversations over the last couple of years with Jim LeMaigre, because the second school in a similar situation is at Cross, which is in his area, and we've talked about that. And actually, Greg and I had a discussion on the way up here as well about some very close relatives of Greg that attended this school in Timber Bay. And so I think there is an ongoing conversation that we dutifully need to have. The second to that, and so that I would say is the first part of the conversation. Second to that is I think we also need to, and maybe part of the reason, much of the reason why I'm here today, is we have a duty to work together to ensure things like this don't happen again. To be inclusive in our region of all people, whether it be the conversations around child and family services, whether it be the conversations that we have around our highways, our access points that are coming in, our connectivity, whether that be a highway, whether it be cellular data, whatever that might be. We have a duty to work together on these things, because I would say, looking back through time, there has been all too often, and I'll say the three major points, but it extends beyond that, but is healthcare, housing, and education. All too often the discussion gets lost, well, that's federal responsibility. No, that's provincial responsibility. And you've heard it all many times, in particular on those three topics. There's times, I think, where we as a province have ignored that conversation and moved forward with some, for example, our treaty education, our K-12 treaty education, some of the other investments that we've made in this space. I talked to you earlier about the Urgent Healthcare Center in partnership with the Takakuk First Nation. But I think we need to do a better job to work together and collaborate, not only with our Indigenous communities, but with our federal government on how we are delivering and actually funding area services in those three areas: healthcare, education, and housing. And get a little bit less concerned, for example, on where the house is located, or where the education is being delivered, or where the healthcare services are being delivered. Because at the end of the day, it's impacting all of us. And it's less about whether they're on reserve or in a neighboring community like Prince Albert. And I think the investment that I spoke of earlier in our healthcare center in Prince Albert is most certainly to service everybody. I think there is a conversation for us to have, in particular with Timber Bay, but also across. And we've had those discussions, and I've asked Jim to continue that conversation within our government. And as we go into an election, and we'll see what the results are after, to continue that discussion. Hopefully, maybe we can break along on those two schools. But the second thing, I think, and equally important, is for us to ensure that we're collaborating wherever we can, in particular on those three particular topics. Associated with that is Bill C-92 with Child and Family Services. How do we work together in the best interest of the child to ensure that the child is cared for and is connected with their community and with their culture, and we're most certainly committed to that. But it goes far beyond that. You spoke, Chief Hardlotte, of community safety. Which also knows no borders, and we need to work together and collaboratively on that. And we're making some investments in that space that I think are going to benefit all of us. Our provincial marshal service will be based out of Prince Albert, but we're going to need to work in collaboration with all Saskatchewan communities, Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities, on how that service is going to support our RCMP and ultimately support the safety in each and every one of our communities, and that's the goal. And so we do have a historical conversation that's overdue, and we look forward to having that. But second, I think we really need to work together to ensure that we're not having these kinds of our children aren't having these kinds of conversations in the future. And I don't think we will, but we do need to do a better job. And I say us as a province, but I also say at the federal level, and I think our local community leadership, and thank you, Chief McLeod and Chief Hardlotte, for having us up here today, can really be the fulcrum on bringing those two funding sources, but also operational sources together to ensure that we are not getting lost in that jurisdictional gray area, which all too well. I'm not telling you anything that you haven't heard before, and I've heard it, and probably at times, in my times as Minister of Environment and things, been guilty of putting it into that. We need to do better.
Thank you, Premier. I guess just before we move on, I want to recognize a former chief from the FSIN. Hiding in the back there, we have Kim Jonathan, former chief. Welcome, Kim. Kim works for Montreal Lake. She's our prevention manager. So she's new to Montreal Lake in that position. So thank you, Kim. To move on the agenda, I'm not sure who's gonna start off, but we have the urban partnership. It'll be Jeff Badger that will start off, I guess. So Jeff, you will.
Good morning. First off, I just want to thank Nolan for the prayer this morning. Just want to thank you all for joining us here today. I know it's a very important discussion. I'm not going to take too much time. I guess for Montreal Lake, we started an urban charitable organization by the name of MLC, Urban Services Inc. We realized that PGC is operating 12 First Nations. So we have a huge number of membership officers, over 2,500. So we felt that we needed to step in, create our own department officers, try and take care of our memberships that are falling through the gaps within a lot of the programs and services that are within the urban setting. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, and we've come a long way since we started. So we played a big role when it comes to COVID. We fed a lot of our people in the urban setting. I think the food banks would have been very overwhelmed if we didn't step in and take care of our own membership. So, we have a lot of plans in the works. We have a lot of work that we've been working on. We talk about partnerships that we want to create. We want to create partnerships within not only our own nation, but within municipal, provincial, and federal areas. There's a lot of funding out there that we can tap into, that we can support the province, the municipality, and the feds to offset some of the needs of our, not only just our people, but overall. I mean, we want to expand, and we want to support and work together with the province and the feds. So, we have a lot of plans ahead of us, and we talk about a transitional group home. We have our friend here that's a consultant from Alberta. So he's been helping us, pointing out, there's a lot of plans that we can work on. They worked on a $35 million transitional group home in Edmonton. And that's something that I feel that we need to work towards. We have a lot of child welfare issues, and it's going to get worse. I mean, we have a lot of homelessness that's creating a lot of challenges. Crime is increasing. So how do we play a role in assisting the city to bring down that crime? So those are things we talk about. Partnerships with programming. I know we've talked about, we've tapped into some of the Saskatchewan programs, but we also want to tackle partnerships and move forward in that direction and see how we can develop and assist even more. So, working together is very key. So, we talked about our people that are suffering. I think one of the things that we also need to focus on is safe shelters. We have too many people going missing, within the urban setting. Prince Albert is, you see it all the time. Missing and you don't know if they're murdered, but just recently we had a young man that was just found in the river. So how do we prevent that type of situation? I really feel that safe shelters are key. So we talked about child welfare. We also want to tap into developing our own child welfare in the off-reserve setting as well. So these are areas that we want to talk to the province about, the feds about, and the city about. So I know the city of Prince Albert, they're welcoming us for a partnership in the future. We just recently discussed the SETI application, but we don't need SETI to move forward. We can move forward without it. So, a lot of work ahead of us. We talked about urban housing. How can we play a role in urban housing? We have a lot of our people getting evicted from these these living units they get evicted and then the landlords jack up the rent. So how can we look after our people in the urban setting with urban housing? So there's a lot of work that we want to talk to all levels of government moving forward. So, we just established in 2019, thanks to Eldon, and the focus that we need to grow, we need to do more for our officer membership. So, there's some areas that I think Eldon's going to touch on. So I don't want to take too much time. I think Eldon will cover some more ground. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Otherwise known as Louis. I call him by his real name. His real name is Louis. Everybody calls him Jeff. His real name is actually Louis, so that's Louis Badger. Next I have Eldon.
Thank you, Vice Chief. Thank you, Jeff. I guess one of the, Premier, I think one of the things that I wanted to let you know as well too in your cabinet, and Rob is familiar. He's getting familiar with our new division, I guess you can call it, with the nation, and we got incorporated back in 2019. And prior to that, we used to operate as a committee. And then we were thinking there, I pulled Jeff aside. I said, we need to do better. I said, I brought him along, and then we created this thing called MLC and Urban Services Inc. And we have a board of directors that run the ship. And we are getting federal funding now. And we're also talking with some of your departments that we want to get access to some certain grants and so forth. But I guess one of the things that really some of our challenges in the urban space as our off-reserve population is the highest in our nation. It's about 2,800 and counting. And so, we have a lot of challenges in different areas, and one of them is housing. So we made a decision that to create the MLC and Urban Housing Corporation. We'll probably give it a Cree name of some sort. But just to let you know that we want to be able to partner with Northern Housing, which operates out of Orange, and they have some servicing agreements and so forth with Timber Bay and Waiakwa, so they got some houses there too, somewhat on sale actually. So we want to fill some of those voids, some of that space. So we're in the midst of building up our housing infrastructure. As Montreal and Little Red have their own, and we need to do our own as well too for urban officer. So we're looking at potential pilot projects and you name it. So definitely want to talk with some of your departments here moving forward, and CMHC as well too. Provide some kind of collaboration, some kind of agreements, and so forth. In terms of education, a lot of our band members are convocating, graduating from different degrees and so forth. Just for an invite, I guess invite the whole table, I guess, that we're having our 3rd annual urban high school and post-secondary grad. And just last year we made an announcement. So we created something that, we thought that's going to work well into the future for future grads and to help to assist them or assist their post-secondary. So that's part of our urban education portfolio that we're creating right now. And one of the things that we created last year, we made an announcement, a special announcement, and it's actually one of our band members, a former chief and councilor, and now our FSI senator and PHC senator, and we created something called the Nolan Henderson Scholarship. Senator Nolan Henderson Scholarship. So that's going to help out a lot of our urban band members, for different levels of and different degrees, you name it. So we definitely looking forward to how we roll it out here in the next little while. So we don't have too much time. But our urban grad is at the Plaza 88 on July 4th. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, take it easy.
Thank you, Eldon. We have Victor Rule for supplement. Victor?
No, first of all, I'm not going to compare in Tommy computer, I just want to start off by saying I thank the leadership for inviting me here today to be part of this exercise. And I was listening to all the different projects that you're working on and how they're lining up and how the true intent of partnerships. So what we have here today, Mayor, and I wrote your exact words were, we really need to work together. I quoted you in saying that. And I appreciate that comment, because in our language we say, "Mamogamato," work together. But most importantly, "Setuskato," support one another. And I think that's important to all of us here. So everything that I heard this morning, Mayor, thank you for your comments and willingness to work with our nation here. You said 46% of the population is Aboriginal. So things are lining up there. Probably those stats were used to justify the expansion of the hospital I heard about. But at the same time, there are people, there are families. And at the same time, we hear the Grand Council talking about true partnerships. We use a lot of those words here today, and I think it's perfect timing that this meeting comes together. So everything that, what I wanted to, Councillor Jeff or Louis, I didn't know that his name Louis, but I always called him Jeff. But the project that he mentioned in his comments was, there's an opportunity here, and it's already, the doors have been opened. It's the first of its kind in Canada, or maybe in Alberta for sure, I don't know, maybe. It's called the Affordable Transitional Housing. It's a building that's being constructed right now that's under the Treaty 8 Child and Family Services Urban Reserve in the city of Edmonton. Because Rob, our friend Rob, sitting here today, he's fully aware of the CHRT 41, ruling 41, which your director is here, your former chief, who's quite familiar with that program. 29 million was funded by the federal government on that one, and the city of Edmonton funded 6 million. That's where the 35 came about. So already it's been proven, it can be done. It's now everybody at this table that we see here to say Toscata, support one another. Not to say work together, say Toscata. And if we're really truly, if there's an opportunity that's there right now, you've got 46%, but you also have to have the urban reserve. 65 acres is what you said. So everything is perfect. You also mentioned the CHRT order that we mentioned, Child Family Services, Bill 90, that they're talking about. And today the partners are here. Is there a true intent to work with Montreal Lake to create that opportunity? In the affordable transitional homes, what it means is, a lot of times our children that are aging at 18, they don't know where to go. And sometimes they get lost, take the wrong path. They lose their language and their culture. What this means is, from 19 to 25-year-old, that they transition them, and the child welfare program continues to work with them to get them into workforce or get them into school and continuing that support. Because sometimes our children, and I'm from Saddle Lake First Nation, and I have family out there too, under the system. I have grandchildren that are my own grandchildren that came from the system. I call them, accepted them that way. But we're all in it together. We just have to work together and support one another. And I think everybody at the table here needs to come to that agreement. And I think we can get it done. I know Rob and his team are quite willing. I hate to say that, but he will answer that question, that there's an opportunity to work together. He's already been working with us on a number of projects already. And I thank you for that ongoing support, Rob, and your team. Thank you.
City of Edmonton, did that come through the Federal Housing Accelerator Program, do you know?
I'm not sure where. The city of Edmonton took credit for it, whether the funding came from another source, they took credit for it. And if you look on the website, yeah, under, they call it the Fort Row Project. You guys can Google it and you'll see it's Fort. So the groundbreaking took place last September. We're having children, young people moving in November already. That's the schedule. So it's a done deal.
Thank you, Victor. Mayor, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm just 2 minutes. Don't worry, I can smell the fish. My favorite food, so don't worry. Well, I'm just going to be quick. I'm just going to highlight what's happened in the last couple of years when you talk about partnerships. First of all, with the Grand Council, they took over the Parkland Hall from us and really made that place hum. They took over the old Margophonia Center and they put the Urban Service Center in there, and you should see all the youth programs and stuff they're doing with there. They just made a presentation with us about tiny homes for homeless people at our sanatorium site. So we support that. And I'm going to share something that some people don't know. We have a partnership where we move city water, and we're soon going to be supplying city water to the Little Red Reserve. So it's all kinds of partnerships on what we can do. Because at the end of the day, as you said, we have the largest population. I always challenge Peter Ballantyne or Laurent when they say they have the largest population. And I said, well, I think I have the largest population. You know, and that's why it's a must that we work together. You know, and I also got to thank the province of Saskatchewan. They've never told me, like the federal government, to stay in my own territory as municipal government, but the province works together with us, you know, and that's what we're excited about. You know, I'm excited. I got my colleague here with me, Councillor Edwards, which has really entrenched himself in it, working very well with Joyce on moving items forward. You know, but I thought by now, you know, that she would give us the hint that we could go to the Oilers game with her, you know, and see one of the final games. But so we have all kinds of partnerships, but it's because we're 46% First Nations. And our community is finally waking up to what an economic driving force that 46% is, because that's what it is. We have issues, yes, but we're working on them. The Grand Council reads, Grand Council, Chief Hardlotte calls a meeting and chairs that meeting about the homeless and then moving that program forward. So we work on the good and the bad together. One other thing I'm going to quick share, I was very fortunate, the Grand Council invited me, and I flew to all the communities that you had to fly into. And we met with those councillors, we asked them what we could do. Well, the biggest thing they asked us to do was work on bootlegging, because it comes from PA, and we know it. So now we search the freight that leaves our airport to try to stop that from happening. And what I'm worried about is, I'm going to give you all a heads up because I'm very worried about this. You're soon going to get payments for, I'll call it cows and plows. Well, we're going to have problems with the bad cycle coming in because they follow where the money is, and they're going to want to sell more drugs and everything to our young people. So we really have to control how that money is handled, because we don't want it to. And I'll give you an example. The last big 5 drug busts that we've had in our city of PA in cocaine, which worries me because it was also handguns, they were all from the province of Ontario. So that's scary, because that's going to grow. As the more money comes into our community, unfortunately, you get that side effect. But we're here to help you, and we're here to help you with the province as well. So anytime we can do it, just invite us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Premier?
I'll just say a quick word, and we might get into it on another conversation, but I do want to, Jim LeMaigre has been working hard the last couple of years on, throughout northern Saskatchewan, I would say, with Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities in the province, and even bringing in the federal government where we can on partnerships just like this. And we'll, you know, the $35 million one, that's a big partnership. The water supply to Little Red, that's a large partnership. Some of the homeless are partnerships that we've come across. I mentioned the Atakaku partnership on the Urgent Care Center in Saskatoon. Those are big partnerships, but there's a number of smaller steps all along the way that I think are equally important when you bring them together. And Jim has been a part of this conversation in his elected time, and I would say even before. But I'll mention one that I was involved with a number of years ago, and it came after a very tragic day in the community, your home community, Jim, of La Loche. And some positives that came out of that, and I would say one was the DTEP program, the Dene Teacher Education Program, where it was actually Mark Klein, the principal at Clearwater, came forward with a proposal about one tranche of training people to teach in the Dene language, and he would find 32 of them, and we worked with First Nations University on setting the program up. They did 1 year in the Losh, 1 year in Clearwater, 3 in the Losh, year 4 back in Clearwater. I think about 25 or 26 of them successfully came through that program, and now we're going through the second grouping of educators. Again, a one-off proposal from the local community, actually from the principal of the Clearwater Dene High School, that we worked with a third-party partner, First Nations University and the federal government, to actually bring together. And it's just one example of maybe something that isn't as large as a $35 million program, but it's very, very impactful in the areas, as those people, those individuals that grown up in the area may not be able to commit to 4 years in Saskatoon for their education training, are able to do it in their own community, and then are able actually to stay in that community. And I think the successes of that are quite high, with people staying in and around that area. So that's one, I think, example of when you have now an actual committee here that the province is able to engage with. You know, please reach out on every opportunity directly to the minister's office through your MLA or whatever that might be, because we'll find those one-offs along the way that I think truly collectively are going to have an impact, as well as the large ones that we look at. But Jim, you've worked on a number of these collaborations, and so if you wanted to speak to a couple, or your experience in what makes them successful.
Thank you for this opportunity. Merci doing get on this. So I was elected in 2015 with in a by-election for Athabasca. So I've held this seat since then, and but before that, I was working for the province with the policing agreements, the CTA that you mentioned earlier. And we've come into your community, we've worked and trained your police board, so some connection into your community. And but I also, and First Nations, come from northern Saskatchewan. Clearwater River Dene Nation is my First Nation. And my father was a residential school survivor. So when we talk about the outstanding school, I have an auntie that went to Alacross. So none of this is ever far removed from who I represent when I'm at the legislative building, and also to speak to building a relationship between Indigenous First Nation communities, Métis communities, and our provincial government. And there's lots of examples of things that are happening. Premier talked about Atakakook First Nation and what they're accomplishing in partnership with us to look after our people. When I go into a First Nation community and visit, I think all of our experience is pretty common. When I look at my First Nation, my mother lives with my older brother, and the challenges she goes through because he's addicted to alcohol. I have 3 sisters that are all teachers, part of the Northern Teacher Education programs. My one sister graduated from the program that the Premier talks about. She took her 4-year degree program right on our First Nation. And in this past 2 years ago, 6 of our local teachers got their masters in Indigenous language right on our First Nation. So we're very proudly can say right from pre-K to graduate level, we offered programs in our language. And our children are being taught by our language. And so I see the benefits of it. Just recently, we also helped Waterhen First Nation to deliver the same program. Cumberland House also delivered the same program. Lac La Ronge, Beauval is going to do the same thing, and Clearwater, again, is on their second cohort. The one thing that we find benefit with this type of partnership is we are taking ownership back of how we're teaching our education and are educating our children. The one thing that we can very proudly say is, because of our history that we inherited as leaders right now, some of history will never ever repeat itself. That we can say with confidence, that it'll never repeat itself. And that's because of work that we're doing together. If you look at our side of government, clearly I'm the only Indigenous person on our side of government. We need more of us to understand. And did I hear just that your agricultural settlement is yet to happen on your First Nation? On my First Nation, I was sitting on council when we went through that process. So I understood the level of negotiation and what it took. I also understood what it meant for our membership that were off the reserve receiving assistance. So we got exemption for people so it didn't count as their income, because that's what it was looking like. So what I did with part of my role with government is that from now on, every agricultural settlement in this province by any First Nation will be exempt and not count as income when they're receiving assistance. That's primarily because I understood what we went through. I understood the process, and it just took one visit with the Minister of Social Services and have a discussion and an education opportunity. That's what it has to take. It's this type of conversation where we understand both sides of each other. And some of us take it to heart. I go and speak with the Premier regularly. We have so much economic opportunities happening in the North. What I argue with the companies that we meet with, what I argue with our education, advanced education opportunities is, I want Northern people not just to have a job, but to sustain themselves. And with what we've done with even our teacher education program, we've proven what we could do together. We can talk about other teacher education program, but very rarely have we seen a 4-year education program offered in a community where you graduate 22 teachers that become local teachers. We graduated 22 teachers, yet at the beginning of a school year, we're still short 19 teachers. So what does that tell us? That tells us we need to. I just attended the First Nation graduation ceremonies in Regina. First Nation University Canada graduated 194 students. That was the largest they've ever had. So whatever we are doing together, it is working. We have people that want to get educated. We want people to sustain themselves and to sustain and provide for their family. And that's what we do. That's what I do with the province. Take every opportunity for us to be educated. I'll leave you with one example before we go, because I'm standing in the way of food.
Yes.
Buffalo River First Nation. I police in that community, and I speak their language. And so I've had a long relationship with that community. So they wanted to work with us. Exactly the discussions that we're having here today, Chief, we've had pockets of that type of conversation with them on and off. But the one thing that I did with that community that's proven to be really effective, the chief brought their chief and council, plus the head of their different departments. So youth center, health, public safety, and education. They came down to Regina to meet with us. Normally in a meeting like this is what happens. We hear for 45 minutes and an hour about the community telling us what their community is about. But I worked with the community and I said to them, let's flip it. Let's just only spend 15 minutes to talk about your community. But let's spend 45 minutes talking about what we could do together. And that meeting has transitioned into Buffalo River now having economic development forums in their community. We were invited to their youth center that we contributed to. And just last week, the chief was talking about we need to talk about health services. And why I bring that as an example is everybody's time is precious. And in order for us to build a relationship, we have to give ourselves the opportunity for us to actually discuss the root of why we're together. That way we can have real discussions about how we move forward. So my commitment has always been, that is how I'll represent. Now it's gone to not just my constituency, but Northern Saskatchewan. I have lengthy experience of providing service in the North. All my career has been in the North. I have lived in Stony Rapids, Buffalo River, Black Lake, doing various work. What I will leave with you today is when the Premier gives you his commitment, that means I have to get to work. And that is part of today. So thank you for the hospitality. I have to rush off to Pine House shortly, and this is what my calendar looks like on behalf of the province. Today I'm here, tomorrow I'm in Pine House, Wednesday I'm in LaLoche, Thursday I'm in Buffalo River First Nation, and then Friday I'm in Canoe Lake First Nation. We have a huge geographic area in the north, and we have to show up in order for us to listen. And thank you for the invite, and thank you for all this opportunity for us to hear. I have lengthy notes that I've taken, so once I get back, we can work on behalf of what we heard today and how we can build a partnership. So I want to thank everybody for that.
Thank you very much. Just very quickly, I want to say a thank you to Jim. I'm reading a book right now. The current book I'm reading is written by Ted Nolan. It's called A Life in Two Worlds. If you know Ted, he played in the NHL and became an NHL coach. Grew up in an Indigenous community in Ontario. A Life in Two Worlds is the title of the book, and I think Jim, you just explained what your life is like today, where you're bringing essentially two worlds together, bringing us together to a place where we understand one another better and can work collaboratively on some of the topics that we had discussed earlier, and how we can actually get to that point about discussing, what are the solutions. We can understand what the challenges are. How do we actually find our way to the solutions? And so I want to thank Jim for what he does, because he is an incredibly powerful voice within the government of Saskatchewan. It's probably why he's talked his friend Greg into running for the other constituency in the north to take some of the workload off his plate. But I want to thank Jim, and I want to say as well that the power of the voice that Jim has within our caucus, the governing caucus and cabinet in Regina. He brings his voice of all northern communities to the capital city and directly into the government caucus. And I want to thank you for that, Jim. That doesn't just happen. That's earned, and you certainly have earned it with your integrity, with your hard work, and with the way that you honorably serve. I would say just not the entirety of northern Saskatchewan, and not even Indigenous communities and Indigenous people across the province, but the way you serve the province so very honorably. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So just, I believe lunch is ready. Is lunch ready back there? Yeah? So can I just recommend that we eat and then we get back to our agenda after we eat lunch? Is that okay with everyone? I think everybody's getting hungry. So I'm gonna call up an elder to come and bless our food for us. Simpson Naytowhow, if you'll come up and bless our food for us, please. Okay, we have Simpson Naytowhow going to bless our food for us. I want to thank everybody for doing what they did. I had too many names to name, but thank you for the meal. And there's still more. Help yourselves. Eat lots. Yep. Yep.
Chief and even Mayor Dionne might have a little bit to add to this, but you know, when it comes to community safety, all communities across the province, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, the Mayor of Prince Albert, Blake, I'm sure it's something you talk about often, it's something we talk about often, and often find ourselves talking about with the gentleman sitting to my left, Chief Hardlotte. So I'm going to get to an agreement that we had signed that it really is the first of its kind in Canada and includes the City of Prince Albert and PAGC. But prior to that, I just want to be very frank about the province's views when it comes to community safety and how we are providing supports, but also enforcement in our communities to our community members, but also our family members. And if you look at the challenges we're faced with today, you know, I talk about mental health and all too often subsequent addictions challenges that we have. Those are not in any way exclusive to any community or any family or any income group. The drugs that we're dealing with today in our communities are nothing short of poison. Nothing short of poison, and they're very, very different in how they really change a person's life relative to maybe the drugs that were available in our communities 10 and 15 and 20 years ago, or even longer when I grew up, for example. We had a lot of mulligans when I was a teenager. There isn't very many mulligans available for my children and my children's children today. And it's just simply with the increased addictiveness of what's in our streets. And I call it poison because I think it's nothing short of that. And so the approach that we're taking from the provincial perspective is simply this. One is to provide recovery supports and access to those recovery supports. So here, ROSC, Recovery-Oriented System of Care. We're increasing our intensive recovery beds across the province, not our 28-day alcohol recovery program, but an intensive months-long recovery program, trying to work with communities on building that, essentially the parallel model to what an AA community-based leaning on one another, supporting one another would be in a post-recovery environment. And we all have a role to play in this as individuals in supporting our community members and as I say all too often, our families that are struggling with this. And so that's the first real focus that the government has, is increasing the access and the quantity of recovery supports that we have. And working closely not only with PAGC, but a number of other communities, again, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, on what was a 150-bed target, now 500-bed target. And unfortunately, I wish that was going to be the end of the targets, but when we achieve 500, I can honestly say we're likely going to have to go beyond that. And so if there is an interest in partnering in any of that space, we're all ears, and we'll look at partnering with communities. There's third-party operators that will come in and operate these recovery beds, whether it be 8 or 10. And Jim, you can speak to some I think Pine House has 8, and that we converted in that community, as well as a number of other communities. So that's the first one, is we need to have supports available for our friends and our family, because the addictiveness of these drugs knows no bounds. Second is we need to work together on keeping our communities safe. And so, I often say to people that are making these drugs available in our community, making these drugs available to our friends and family, they can't be in our community with those drugs. And so there is an enforcement aspect to this. And the Criminal Code of Canada and the consequences, that's for the federal government. But what we can do is work together on ensuring that we have security in our communities, working together to ensure that our law enforcement agencies, whether they be RCMP, whether they be municipal law enforcement services, whether they both of those be supported by the Saskatchewan Marshal Service, which will be located out of Prince Albert, but is a provincial service, and is there to arrive in your community to have a presence, a specialized presence, to ensure that we are having a safer environment today than maybe we have in the past. And so we do need to get the drugs out of our community, and we need to get the drug dealers out of our community as well. And so it really is a two really is a parallel focus, providing those supports and providing alongside, partnering with whoever we can to provide those supports moving forward so that our, I used to say people in my community, but as we all know, there isn't a family that isn't untouched by mental health challenges and all too often subsequent addictions challenges. And so we need to have those supports for our family members. But we also need to ensure that we're working together to ensure that the enforcement efforts are there. So back to where I started. The first of its kind in Canada, and credit to Chief Hardlotte. And credit to Mayor Dionne as well for the collaboration that happens with the municipal force in Prince Albert. But we had signed alongside the federal government the first agreement to move forward on community Indigenous policing in PAGC territory and PAGC communities. And so we continue to advance that as we move along. We have very specialized, I would say, and capable and competent RCMP services. We've invested in some of the specialized team, the PACT, which is Police in Action Crisis Team, which has a place, the West team, which is our warrant enforcement suppression team. We have the CRT teams, which are the crime reduction teams, which are all helpful and very specialized. But at the end of the day, we need to work together on a greater presence in our communities, and that's going to mean more RCMP officers, it's going to mean more municipal police officers, and it's going to be more partnerships like what we have moved forward with the agreement of the federal government and the leadership of your PA Grand Council Chief, Brian Hardlotte. So I thank you for that as well. We're not at the end of our journey yet, but we certainly are heading down the road. It's an important conversation. It's off topic, but it's...
Mr. Premier, the urban councillor, Jeff Louis, I brought up the urban members that are evicted. We get those calls all the time. And I think it's provincial policy, correct me if I'm wrong, the council, in the income assistance area. I think these people, I don't know if it's a human rights issue, but before they were helped by the income assistance workers, and that they were able to pay their rent. But now, they get their whole amount, and there's no help, I guess, from the workers to make sure that their rent is paid. So it's a policy in the social services, something that you can check on, Premier. But the area of community safety, and I commend your community, Chief, what you're doing. We all have those challenges in our communities. Every community, is facing this challenge. And but I can say one of the biggest things when you're for community safety, that take too much money, is the interagencies, right? And that's all the agencies coming together with the leadership, and talking about the challenges and looking at solutions in a community. Because I used to run the interagencies in my community, and because before I seen what happened, when there was a challenge, the education people say, no, that's a help, that's your responsibility. If there's another area, no, that's the family services. It can't be that way, and it has to be the community, the leadership, and the agencies coming together and working on that. Premier, with our agreements, policing agreements, I commend what they call the crime reduction team. The crime reduction team. They have them in the cities, but they have them in the RCMP station out of a L'Orange. And it's up to the First Nation, and I'm sure you're utilizing it. Yep. So that's I commend you for that. You just let them, you talk to them, you let them do their work, and that's it. They do their work. We don't even know, right? All of a sudden they're in the community, in a house, and it's a White House. How did they get that information? But it's the work that they do. So I commend for that. In the PA Police Service, we have an agreement with the Prince Albert Police Service, and it's to do with urban members being lost.
And I commend the new police chief, Pat Naudie, for his work and his leadership in the community. Boy, over the last week, you know, a member being lost for Peter Basnack Nation. And we kept together working as a team with our emergency response team, Dwayne Hebert, the BBCN, coming together, forming an emergency response center, EOC, in there and working together. You know, and sadly, you know, most of the times, most winters, I can say people were found. And that's a good thing, but this one, you know, sometimes we find people and it becomes a recovery. And in this case, you know, I think police service for that sadly was not the outcome that we had. So it's good to see that. Prince Albert Grand Council has always advocated for community safety officers. And the province has a pilot program. One of the communities, First Nations communities, is Whitetail, where this pilot program is. Check into that. But you know, I've always advocated these community tripartite agreements that are still being negotiated. And I'm sure Matthew Moraski, I think I'd come to your community, talk to you about your community tripartite agreement. What would you like to see in it? Very important in those community tripartite agreements is the board itself, the police board. Very important. And an elder being funded. That's the way it was before. And for them to be funded, you know, because they are the liaison, you know, between the community. Of course, they do the main liaison is the First Nations. But they have always advocated is that in those community tripartite agreements that there should be community safety officers funding for them. You know, right across, right? You know, because Lac-La-Ronde's India Band, and I have experience of that in my community. We don't call it community safety officers. That's relatively a new term coming out of the province, and it's a good thing. Community safety officers. When Onion Lake started off, they called them peace officers. It's the same thing. In my community, Lac-La-Ronde Indian Band's family, we just call them security guard, community security guard, and that's what they are. But it's the same thing. But they work very close with the RCMP there. In fact, when I was there, you know, you have to make the program credible. Credible. How do you do that? You know, there has to be a person hired. You know that you're not the chief and council are not. They rely on that person to make that program work itself. A good person, and actually you have those people over there, and I commend them. And they and working on the program. And they uniforms. When I was there, you know, nice uniforms. You guys look incredible, right? Vehicles, nice vehicles. You know, but it takes money. Own source funding. That we've been doing that, but it's doable. But that's something that Prince Albert Grand Council will continue to fight for community safety officer funding. So we got challenges. But I always say to the chief and councils and the communities, you know, we have to work together. You know what's happening in Canada, you know, your federal funding jurisdiction, right? That's a challenge. It shouldn't be. We're just trying to make our communities, you know, better community, and that's our jobs. And that's our jobs for me as the Grand Chief and my Vice Chief, working with the chiefs of the 12 nations. That's our job, to make a safe community. To have those communities, you know, use everything that they have. That's our job. So I commend you, Chief, and your council, but I also encourage you. In the words of Abel Charles, Mr. MBC, Mr. CBC Tom here, but Abel says, "Kawit pagitsi." You know, don't give up. And really, in the south they say, "Ah, kamim." Same thing. Let's not give up. That's our jobs. And I encourage you, let's keep all the work together. This is a good meeting that we're having here. And but any meeting, good food, everything. And I thank the cooks and the ladies back there. But the most important thing from a good meeting is a follow.
Thank you for those discussions, very good discussions. Carol, do you have something that Councilor Carol had something to add to?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say thank you for the prayers today. And thank you to our Creator for allowing us to be here today. And safe travels for everyone to make it here safely. I just wanted to add on to your comments there when you talked about your additional spaces. Montreal Lake, we actually had the opportunity to meet with the SHA, Derek Miller. We had that meeting, I think in February, we had a meeting with him. And so we discussed, a number of items where there's provincial jurisdiction and the barriers that we face as we live on reserve. One of the things we talked about was additional spaces, and one of my portfolios along with Councilor Charmaine, sorry, yelling mayor's ear. Sorry, we sit on the board for the Montreal Lake Detox. So we have a detox out here in our community right now. This has been operating for the past 2 years. Our board actually started 2 years ago. It's been operating for 1.5 years as of last January. So one of the things that we had many discussions, with Indigenous Canada regarding funding, because it's a non-funded area, and we know the need in our community as well as other communities, and we were, the word is constantly, that's provincial jurisdiction, that's provincial, but among a number of other things is provincial jurisdiction. We actually followed up, we actually submitted a request, to have some of those spaces, and we weren't successful this year, and we're told, to wait until next year. But we can't wait, we're still operating. We're operating on minimal funding. We know that with a medical detox, they're only available in the cities across Saskatchewan and none on federal land. So I'm glad you brought that up, and going forward, I think about how the detox centers should be easily accessible on the road, and not only in the city. You talked about how people feel safe and they feel they're accomplished. They're able to accomplish things, such as education. You discuss that, and if they're closer to home. So same thing with detox. They're able to accomplish it if they're around people that they know. So I do look forward to having more conversations regarding that, because it's important, not only right now, but in future years when, the discussion came up with housing clubs, where are we going to be at in 5 years, 10 years? We don't know, but we're thinking proactively, with the detox and the discussion in treatment centers, because when you look off reserve, they're full, they're full, and if they're in the 3 cities in Saskatchewan, they're full all the time. So, we need to look at off reserve and on reserve detox centers and treatment centers. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Oh, that's a little louder now. Kind of turned it up. Kind of felt like I was yelling. But anyways, I just want to get back to our schedule, to our agenda. I think the senator is going to do a little history on Molinosa, our Treaty 6 signing site. And then Councilor Eldon and Chief Joyce will supplement to it. So.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Thanks for emceeing this event. And thank you to all the visitors and our membership. In terms of just giving you a little bit of background on Molinosa. The Cree name is Kiskahigansi, and just to elaborate on the name, as our past chiefs have commented, and educating us in terms of what Kiskahigansik is all about. When you're paddling, when you pass by a certain landmark called Kiskahigansik, that landmark is named as to where you pinpoint the direction in which you're paddling. And so you actually put a stake into the ground in directing the direction you're going. So that's what the background name of Mollanosa is, as we know it today. And then, of course, historically, Mollanosa is the first two letters of Montreal Lake, northern Saskatchewan. If you take those words and you take the first two letters of each of them, that's what you'll come up with, is Mollanosa. So in terms of just looking at Mollanosa, then some of the people that were really, really pushing for a treaty, we were in this area, in the Woodland Cree area, stemming from Prince Albert northward this way. The people then kind of felt a bit left out after hearing about the treaty settlements in 1876. And then 13 years later is when this treaty finally happened. And that was after a lot of messages to Ottawa and back and forth. Then James Roberts, who was the chief of Lac La Ronge Indian Band, is the one that is noted to really be pushing the agenda for a signing to take place at the north end of Montreal Lake, Kiskahigansik. And so that place there, you know, it's unfortunate that we're unable to visit the site this time around, but we will get opportunities in the future. That particular site is right at the entrance of Montreal River. Going down river flows into Lac La Ronge, but right at the entrance is where this treaty signing ground is. And you know, I was asked today, why is it that we never really acknowledged it and you know, kind of adored it for what its history sense is? The one reason is, you know, like preoccupation is what I would say amongst our leaders. You know, because most lately, and you know, like I say that most lately, 1981 is the first time that I went and saw that ground. I was, you know, like then Chief Roy Bird and his council were invited by then one of our senators or one of our elders, Sandy Ross, to go up there and visit that site. And there, what we found is that there was 4 holes in the ground just right off a sand bank, and right in the center of it was this rock. I would gauge it to be about 2 feet by 2 feet, something like that, in terms, kind of roundish. And in the middle of it was this brass peg. And and what it was a circular, and with a brass peg into the rock. That was how it was marked, and I remember the side of it. It said IR on the brass. So that's how it was marked as a treaty signing ground. Then Sandy pointed out, this is the place where the treaty was signed. And so that's kind of where I kind of made connection with that place myself. And many of us, before that, we never knew where it was. We never knew anything about it. So, you know, as we go forward today, certainly leading up to lots of interest in that area. Like There is grave sites. There's a big grave site there of, I believe, around 14 graves, pardon me. 14 graves. There's two elders there, and then the rest are children that would have been taken by a pandemic that came through in 1917 and 1918. So that's kind of the history of that grave site there today. And right adjacent to it, about 150 meters south of it, is the treaty standing ground. And beside the grave site, to the north of it, would be Harold Johnson's land base, and where his grandpa established his home site, and you know, that's the history there. So, but all around Molinosa was people that were deemed not to be treaty people. Then the Indian agent, who had a lot of power, deemed these people, you know, they were derivatives from non-First Nations and Indian people coming together, commonly known as half-breeds, you know, Métis people. So that's where they descended on Molinosa. And if you read Dougie Ross's history about Molinosa, there's been a lot of people have come and gone in there. And you'll see where Molinosa was. Today, our people are slowly moving back to that land base. And so consequently, there's a lot of interest in this historical pieces of land for us. And so, you know, in just looking at briefly what Molinosa is, and just reminding people, for some of you that may have heard of it, Kiskahegansik. And so I just thank you for listening, and there are follow-up comments on this. So thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the cooks for very, very delicious food. Thank you, Senator, for that history. It's just kind of it's kind of amazing when you start learning about the history of our nation. And I think back about the treaty signing that was held on February 11, 1889. That was about 135 years ago. And then we didn't find the treaty till about 1981, according to the history. That's 43 years. For me, I'm very, very passionate about Molinosa, because if we go there, we have treaty cultural days every year. And why I'm passionate about it is because, you know, we always ask, I asked, you know, as a matter of fact, some people actually think it's a reserve. It's not a reserve, it's Crown land. And so every time we go there, we have to ask for permission. We're gonna pull a tree out of the water, we have to ask for a permit, we have to ask for permission. And people have been going there for many years, looking after, that's how it started off, I guess. People have been going there for many years just to clean up their graveyards, about 3 graveyards I heard. But at the same time, you know, that was the beginning of it after they found out. And then after that, you know, we've been going there every year. And each year, Vice Chief will add to this one here. Every year, we have more people coming in there. We had our AFN leader there at one time, and just to go back to some history about that, we had talked. Lionel he's still here. Lionel was with us when we took our AFN at the time, former Chief Roseanne. We took her to the cabin, Harold's cabin, and at that time we told her about the challenges that we were facing regarding the Timber Bay. And at that time she told us, you know, there's a precedence. You know, people were getting paid. There's a similar thing like that, a similar incidents like that in Ontario. But instead of Timber Bay, instead of our church students getting paid as a residential, they were getting paid as day school. That's how they were compensated. So we talked to her about that. And we've had it just about every year. We have people, from all the chiefs will go there, all the chiefs from 3 Woodland Cree, FSIN chiefs, Prince Albert Grand Council. Every year it seems to be more and more people. Used to be a few days. Today it's usually held over a week. And that's how we connect. That's how we connect to our culture. That's how we connect to our language. That's how we connect to our way of living. And because we have fishermen there. A couple of years back, we had people there learning how to do a moose hide, because it's one of those traditions that has been long forgotten after our elders passed on from here. So kind of relearning about how to do a moose hide. And a lot of people were there, it's a very popular, when you think about Montreal, and there's a lot of good things that happen in Montreal Lake. You think about the fish derby, people know where Montreal Lake is. You talk to them about Malanosa, people know where Malanosa is, and because it's of all the things, the good things that have been done there. And so we had because it's a very historic place, I said, I'm sitting here with Mo, and he's asking me, well, how come it wasn't done before? I said, I don't know. I think maybe our previous leaders were too busy. Maybe our previous leaders didn't have a lawyer. They didn't have the researchers for somebody, to do the kind of research that we've done. So, not me, but our team members. So I think maybe that's the reason that for me, this is a big thing for our community, for Montreal Lake, because how come we use that land every year? How come we have to ask the province for permission? How come we look after it? I said, and besides that, we have our cultural place, Harold Johnson's cabin, where we use that for our land base for our students. Harold Johnson's transferred his lease to all of us, so we're leasing that place there for very few dollars from the province. But there's information here that we found, and for me I think maybe because of the years, so many years have passed on, I think maybe it's time that we we have a chance to change it into a reserve using the ATR.
Thank you, Chief. I just have Eldon going to say a couple comments on that.
Thank you, Vice Chief. I just want to make a mention there, Premier and Rob. We've been creating a thing called MLC and Land Claims Committee. And we've got the mandate to work on ATR. And Malanosa is one site, but there's also, we're looking at Prince Albert as well too. So with Carla Green and some of your staff, Rob, we'd like to work with you. We have to work directly along with the province as well too. So we've got some of our contacts there too, Premier, and I think it's a joint effort that we're moving towards our first urban reserve ever for our nation. We signed treaty, like you know, back in 1889. And this year, 2024, is 135 years later, right? And I know we've got the mandate now to work on an urban reserve, and we haven't got there yet. We don't have our official yet, our first one. So when you think about it around this lake here, you have Yaquin and Timber Bay, and we picked out some land there, adjacent to the municipality or to the hamlet, just like what Lac La Ronge and PBCN, they have a reserve adjacent right to a hamlet, so you can just throw a rock over, right, to the road. they're in different jurisdiction. So that's something like we're trying to model as well too. We're talking about it. We're going to be talking about it at our next land claims committee meeting as we move forward. But you know, Prince Albert being one of our main destination points for urban reserve for Montreal Nation. And we haven't got there yet, but we are working towards that. And Premier, I'd like to extend our hand to your office as well too as we work through this. And Dionne, and our councilor here, you know, we've been talking, and I think we're on the right path. And you know, urban reserve, you know, leads to economic reconciliation. And we've been behind. Like when we look at Montreal Lake, as we don't have our first urban reserve yet, we're behind the 8 ball, so to speak, compared to other reserves. So we're trying to fast track that process through our work as well too, and our mandate. So, thank you.
Yeah, those are good comments on the general land claims in general and where you're looking. And I couldn't agree with you more when it comes to reconciliation, economic reconciliation. There is a duty for all of us to work together to ensure. I greatly believe, and in particular in this area where we all live, the economic opportunities are great. Our connections to the north are great, and there's a lot of natural resources throughout. And we need to work together on any of the development of those so that everyone is included in that economic opportunity that's before us. And from a community perspective, from an Indigenous family and individual perspective, that financial security that we can all gain, I think, is really economic reconciliation in action. And the government has a duty to engage. Governments of all levels, I would say, have a duty to engage to ensure that that is the case, and it most certainly is our effort. And that's where we have taken advice, not just from Jim LeMaigre, but from Grand Chief Brian Hardlotte, as well as many other leaders across the north and representing Indigenous communities across Saskatchewan on, how best do we engage. One of the areas where this conversation has led us was the introduction of the Indigenous Finance Corporation, where we can underwrite actual investments, not only in corporations that might be servicing that main natural resource investment that's there, whether it's a forestry investment or whether it's a mining investment or whatever that is, but to actually invest in the capital investment itself. And so that Indigenous Finance Corporation is something that we actually had discussions with Alberta on, as well as many community leaders. We've seen Alberta move forward with theirs, Saskatchewan, and now we see it mirrored in the federal budget as well, which I think bodes positive for this whole conversation around including everyone and giving everyone the opportunity to participate in what is a growing and vibrant economy. The whole Mollinosa discussion I find quite intriguing, actually, because it's less about economic reconciliation, more about actual reconciliation. And so I have some questions that I'll ask after as to how this all transpired. Greg and I were talking about this a bit on the way up as to the history not only of signing what the adhesion agreement proposed, how and why it isn't actually your land today. So I have some questions that I'm going to go back and ask and dig into this a bit as well, because I think this is more about us understanding our shared history and ensuring that we're respecting that shared history in every way that we have an opportunity. And so we're going to have more discussions on that.
Thank you. Just to get back on track here, our last item that we want to talk about is just kind of basically an update. That's our new school feasibility study. A couple of years ago, we started pursuing the possibilities of a new school for our nation. Our nation is growing. Our school is old. Rob Harvey, he's helped us. He's supported us to this point. He's been in our school. He's seen our school. He's seen the need of a new school, and we're trying to get into phase 2, which is the design phase. We're pretty much done the feasibility study. I think we have all our all our documentation ready for that. And, you know, I'm just looking for more support in phase 2 and just moving forward with that. That is just an update, you know, that's the reason behind it. And, you know, I'm just looking for that support. So thank you for that. So moving forward, can we get the ladies up, please?
How many kids in school?
Right now, our nominal roll is about 430. 430, yeah. So, yeah. 485. Oh, 485.
Oh, it grew.
Yeah, grew in like 1 second there.
Don't ask him again.
But it's constantly growing.
And we're prepared to go higher.
So we're going to present some gifts. We got the ladies up here. We'll get our crew. We're going to get into our presentation of some gifts.
The elders, and thank you so much for the prayers and the blessings. And again, we welcome the visitors who are here. And we wanted to present, and we're so thankful. And I'll say it again because everyone said it today, but we're so thankful, Premier Mo, for you coming here and being with us. We noticed, and we had a lady that was sewing real fast because we knew that your feet are nice, they'll fit in here really well. So on behalf of Montreal Cree Nation and then your family here, we want to present you with gifts, including the moccasins, so you make your way back here again. And Delia, they has a star blanket for you, Pearl.
Explain the star blanket.
Yeah. And with any, the star blanket is very significant, and you'll see that you have, you want to come over this way, maybe? You'll see that you have all the diamonds in the star. Complete the star. Without any one of these diamonds in here, Premier, it wouldn't be a complete star. And so you being here, you're one amongst one of the diamonds. So we welcome you and we thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I don't, yeah. Thank you, Premier Mo. And welcome to Mullinosa as Chief Joyce is, oh, this is her, this is big too. And again, we welcome Mayor Greg Dionne here. He is in many of our family members are within the Prince Albert area, the Prince Albert city, and thank you very much for being an advocate. And we've also got some beaded work from one of our local women. And thank you again for being here in Montreal Cree Nation. This is a change wallet for all the chunk of change he's going to help us get.
From the federal government. Yeah.
Right on there. Woo! Where's your remote? Maybe seeing the population of Prince Albert is half Indigenous, maybe we start calling him Chief Dionne instead of Mayor Dionne.
For all the hard discussions and all the talks that you have with and for, and all the advocating that you do for us as well, we wanted to also honor you and present you with this star blanket. And he gets a wallet for all the chunk of change he's going to help us with. And that's pretty. Where's your wallet? Here. Wow. So we're gonna offer him the same honoring of the star blanket. And when we're all wallet for some more chunk of change, you're gonna help us get.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to the work that we're gonna be doing with all across.
To the chief and council that are here, we want to do a photo shoot with all our dignitaries that are here with their star blankets, so don't go anywhere, please. We'll do a photo shoot. Go ahead, continue on.
And representing our chief, Tammy Cook-Searson, Uncle Tom. Those that don't know, he's actually my uncle. He's married to my mom's sister. They broke up and he remarried, but still he's my uncle. He's still family. He didn't divorce us. And a brother to all of us, our Grand Chief Brian. He's our family member. He literally is my adopted brother from way back, before politics even, actually. So the Grand Chief Brian, thank you so much for everything you do for Montreal community. And I know that our Chief Joyce, it's really a difficult steps that you walk, and I know that you do that every day, and you do everything that we don't even see. So we wanted to honor you too with a star blanket. Surprise. And your Oiler tickets, we were just here. Maybe Jim has. Thank you so much, Chief Joyce. And just one more. One of the things that I've learned about Montreal Cree Nation, and just being not originally from here, Ashley, one of the things that we've learned is just not being originally from here. Montreal Cree Nation is so rich in family, everything good of the land, and being good people and welcoming. We also, and she works out of the Premier's office. She does all the heavy lifting and everything that others may not be doing, and you're doing it. And so we wanted to also honor you with a gift, and that's of a ribbon skirt. For and from all of the hard workers and the women and children that you're showing, demonstrating what it is to be a woman. And then Vice Chief.
Okay, thank you. So I think we probably have enough gifts for all our visitors and everybody, so we'll give everybody a gift. The ladies will go give them out, but we will do a photo shoot with everyone here. If we can get all ML Chief and Council up to the front, we'll do that. And then we'll get into closing comments and get everybody on their way. So can we have all the Chief and Council up here, please? Closing comments. Thank you.
Well, all I have to say is thank you. I think this has been a great day. We've had great fellowship, we've had great food, and I think we're going to start moving things ahead. But it's like Jim said, it's all about follow-up. And we'll be following up, you know, and I just want to appreciate, thank you. You just make us feel like we're at home, and that's what it's about. We're one community. So thank you, and be good.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next is Rob Harvey. I just want to mention to Rob, about our new school that's coming.
How many students now?
We got 5. We just went up a couple. But our building has outlived its age. It's 40 plus years age. We're having closures in our school because of water line failures. They're so old that our pressure is too low to flush a toilet. There's things like that are happening. So I just want to put that little birdie in your ear that we really need a new school. So thank you very much, and I'll give you the mic.
I'm not sure what to say after that, Vice Chief. That kind of set the stage, but noted on the school. I know the teams have been working very hard. 2 phases to that, right? Trying to keep the current facility up and operational while we kind of work on the go-forward plan. But on the school front, just for everybody's information, budget 2024 for the federal budget, there was school infrastructure funding in it. Once that gets finalized, I'll be able to kind of share more information on what that might mean on the school project from our side. I am hopeful that we can transition to design, right? It's long overdue. In the spirit of follow-up, I got tons of notes from today, so I will be following up with both the Ministers of Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations on the Timber Bay file, right? So I'll make sure that they're briefed on that. And doing some follow-up, there's a conversation about grader, about dealing with gravel, right, crusher and that. So I'll follow up on that because we might have some opportunities that we want to work with Montreal Lake on. So thank you so much. I want to thank Chief and Council again. And I made a mistake this morning. I didn't let Roy Bird, my former boss. This is facility's named after him, right? So just want to acknowledge that because very first day on the job back in 1999, I think he was the first individual, and he asked, excuse my language, who the hell am I? When I got in the elevator with him, right, my first day, but learned a lot from Roy, and it goes way back, so I'll always have a special tie to Montreal Lake, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rob. Our Premier with his closing comments.
But just a very heartfelt thank you to everyone for coming and opening the dialogue. And it takes multiple people from multiple entities to sit down and try to bring everything together. But when you do, it makes all of that work and that effort worth it. The mayor had alluded to a couple of initiatives in Prince Albert, which is a shared city. I think that we all have an interest in. How those initiatives often take 6, 8, and 10 years to find them across their way to the finish line. And to get them to a place where all too often our children are going to actually utilize the benefits of them. But for me, that is absolutely worth it. And so I want to thank you today for advancing that relationship from the province of Saskatchewan's perspective. And know that you'll have a partner in the province of Saskatchewan on each of these initiatives as we move forward. We won't always come to 100% agreement, but that should be our target when we start out. And I just want to say, end with how I started. Thank you. Thank you for your engagement today, and I look forward to more conversations just like this in the future, maybe even on August 5th if I can find my way back here.
Mr. Premier, Grand Chief.
Vice Chief, thank you, Vice Chief. You have a nice one. I'll say thank you to the Mayor, Greg, Chief, yourself, the Premier, and Rob, and the council members. God bless you individually. Here this going towards the afternoon, late afternoon, this evening. God bless you all. God bless our beautiful community of Montreal. Hey,
Thank you, Grand Chief. And last but not least, we'll have our closing comments from our Chief.
I say hi to the Mayor, to the Premier. Did I call the Minister this morning?
You can call me Scott.
Oh, Scott. Okay, thank you, Premier, and thank you, Grand Chief. Thank you, my friend Rob, and thank you to Jim. I don't know if you know if he's still around.
He's probably
And thank you to the elder for the prayers in the now for all the food, for all your kindness, and for coming here, for all the gifts and everything. I think it took a while for the council, you know, to get all these people together under one roof. And we thought it could have been better, but we thought we didn't know about the weather. We wanted to take them to Malinosa so we can show them the Herald's cabin, and also where the treaties were signed, and the traditional grounds. But you know, sometimes we have no control. The weather we have no control of. The roads, Scott, we have no control of. So some things, but we have control of, we have control of their emails. So that's why we invite them here, and this is just the beginning. Just the beginning, and we're willing to work along with them, and hopefully the dialogue will continue regarding Malinosa, regarding the road, regarding the bridge, and regarding the partnership. And also, I think they're all invited, because these guys like to fish. We're going to invite them back to Malinosa, where we can take them out fishing. I thank you, all of you. Hi.
Thank you, Chief. I was just going to make one comment as to the invitation that I received here today. And so, first of all, I've had my phone sitting here. I don't look at my phone very much. In fact, seldom do I actually bring it with me anymore, because it's just buzzing and ringing and gets in the way of other stuff. And so I actually, when I'm in Regina, I'll just leave it on my desk and I'll check it once in a while to see if my wife needs something from me, and or my kids or grandkids or whatever that might be. But I seldom have it with me to answer one day, and who calls but this number that I didn't recognize. And often if I'm doing something else, I probably won't even answer. I thought, oh, we'll see who this is, and I answer. So I answer the phone, and here it is. It's your chief, and inviting me to the community. And she said, oh, hello, Premier. I said, well, my name's Scott, and Premier was the last guy. But yeah, most certainly, let's try to find a time when we can come to the community. So I'd say thank you to you, Chief McLeod, for taking the initiative and just giving a phone call. As I said, I live an hour and a half away, and I'm going to live an hour and a half away long after both of us are done our current positions. And I want to thank you for the invitation and for reaching out, just like you did.
Thank you, Premier. It was an honor having you in our community, and I speak for everyone that's here. It's a great honor for you to come and visit us. Thank you very much. With that, I just want to call up our senator to close us off with a prayer. And I just want to mention that, we're ahead of agenda here. I kept us right on track. Does the council want to say closing comments, or we good? Good? We're good, yeah. Okay. Well, Carol has closing comments.
I do want to say thank you. Thank you for coming to our community. All of you, and everybody that's here, thank you. There's a lot of important discussions that are talked about today, and I really hope that they continue on, and we have not only discussions, but we have action items, down the road. So thank you for that, and thank you for everyone for all your hard work. We had the ladies, working all weekend, last week and preparing, and when I came in this morning, it was really good. Thank you for that, because it took a lot of work, and to our council that's here, thank you for everything. I just wanted to add something really quick. My mom did attend that Timber Bay school, for 7 years. So I'm up here and I'm speaking English. I don't have my fluent language, but I am learning. I can understand some of it. My culture, I'm learning my culture, learning my history. That's something that we have to do now because of that school. So I do want to say thank you for coming to listen to all of the items, because they're all important. So thank you, in behalf of our community, thank you for coming out.
Thank you very much, Carol. With that, I think we're ready to close close off with our senator praying for us for safe journeys home. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. MC, Dean, and if say, EOS can nothing last now, I want to thank all of you for being here and so let's hold off in thought of getting home safely and all the other things that we all stand for and that is working together. Si manto,